Initiating becoming a hiring machine sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone! We're really happy that you're here to join us for our webinar of your ATS report card, where we're going to be covering the 5-point audit framework for modern agencies. My name is Natalia Bullet, and I'll be here with you for the next 45-ish minutes, I would say. But if you're here, you're joining, we're probably going to give a little bit of leeway for the people who are coming in so they can join. I know that not everyone has Zoom, so maybe you're downloading it or whatever it is. So yeah, we usually like to wait a couple of minutes before then. So if you are new to Zoom or you're familiar with it, a little bit of housekeeping. There's a couple of buttons at the bottom of your Zoom, which are going to be chat related. So if you want to start commenting, let us know where you are or where you're based or whatever it is, feel free to start dropping it in there. And the three of us, we were actually brainstorming in terms of like, what fun question could we think of to start doing like a little bit of an icebreaker, especially when it comes to like the world of recruitment, especially when we're talking about like ATS systems. And we were thinking, wouldn't it be fun to know like funny stories about like people in recruitment, like something, it could be personal, it could be like something that happened to one of your colleagues or like completely anonymous, but like what funny thing has happened to you, maybe like on a Zoom call or whatever it is. Just let us know on that chat. And Lex, Diego, we have the Q&A box open, right? Yeah. So the Q&A button is also open. That's going to be at the bottom. If you have any questions related to our subject for today, which is going to be the ATS report card, feel free to drop them in there. We'll try to answer them live. Maybe Diego will give me a little nudge if it's related to like a subject matter that we're speaking about in particular in that moment, because I don't want you to miss out on anything. We've prepared a really, really good session for you. And if we can't cover them because they might be a little bit too niche, we'll try to maybe in the email follow-up or whatever it is. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly go ahead and start sharing my screen. But if you do want, Diego, if you could share in our chat the link to the report card. Our lovely Lex, which is here, has helped us create this beautiful report card that you can follow along as we're doing this session today, or if you do want to do it afterwards and pay attention to everything that I'm going to be covering today, I think that's going to be also really good for you. So like maybe stay here with me and then you can go ahead and do it on your own time. Okay, that being said, I'm sharing my screen, right? You can see everything. Yeah, okay, wonderful. So today we're going to be covering our ATS report card, which is the 5-point audit framework for modern agencies. This is presented by Loxo. Okay, so a little bit in terms of table of contents. This is what we're going to be covering most of the time. So introduction, the purpose behind actually doing this webinar, how to grade your system. We're going to be doing it in a scale from 1 to 5, and we're going to be covering 10 different subjects. Think of it as like an actual report card, like when you were in school, you had math, science, history, biology, etc. So we've created subject matters for things that you should be grading your ATS system on, and you can scale it. After that, we're going to be covering the actual subject. So we're going to be telling you a story, which is like a case study from customers that are usually trying to look for a new ATS system versus the ideal scenario of what they want to be able to achieve in the actual system. We're going to be then doing a grade average in terms of just like adding everything up. And then we're going to be closing the cap and also doing the closing remarks. Okay. That being said, I think that it's important for me to talk to you about like who I am and why am I actually the person that's here talking to you about this. Right now, I'm a lifecycle content manager, but I have a lot of years of experience being an account manager, a customer success manager as well, but especially in software as a service companies specifically focused in recruitment, in the world of recruitment. So I've been working with a lot of clients, a lot of customers that deal with ATS systems. They have their pain points. They have these things that they want to like tackle and learn about, but maybe their systems fall short. So we've just decided to collect everything together and be able to have this presentation for you. So the purpose behind today's webinar is to put your current system, maybe if you are using an ATS system or not, we're going to be putting it to a test. And we're going to start identifying maybe roadblocks or just see if it's actually a growth engine for you or if it's holding you back. Okay, so hopefully all of you have the report card available if you do want to follow it, or if you want to just like keep an eye on it for maybe later. Today, what you can expect is that we will be taking a candid look at the critical areas where your ATS might be falling short, and we will be equipping you with maybe options of what an ideal ATS could look like. Okay, that being said, as I mentioned, very important for you to understand like the focus area behind how we're going to be doing this grading system. We have decided to do it from a scale of 1 to 5, where we will be putting 10 different key statements, which are the ideal scenarios of what a great ATS could look like. And you're going to give your current system, your current ATS, a grade from 1 to 5. Like, if this is the ideal scenario, how close am I to getting to this ideal scenario, that being a 5? Okay. This is fully up to you. If you're a team lead or if you're a recruiter that is part of a team, be as honest as you can. You are as good as like your honest opinion and your honest grading when it comes to your ATS. So feel free to just like maybe even add notes on the side of like, oh, maybe they do this. Maybe I should find out. I should talk to like my ATS provider or my customer success manager with my ATS and get more insight on it. Okay. Just so we understand a little bit more about all of these. So each one of them represents something different, of course. We've got 5 as being the strongest. You are the closest to that ideal scenario. And then 1 being that you are the furthest away from that ideal scenario. When you're at 5, it means that your system is operating at peak modern efficiency in this particular area, in this particular subject. Neutral means that you can do it, but maybe there's a couple of workarounds. It's a little bit clunky. Maybe you have to use different softwares or different tabs, different subscriptions to fulfill this. And then 1, it's something that your ATS is definitely not covered. They're not even taking into consideration. So that being said, I think that we can go ahead and start talking about our first subject matter. Diego, Lex, are we good, or do we have any questions about the scale? Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, no questions so far, so we can continue.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, because if you have any questions about like, oh, maybe I didn't understand it specifically, like the ideal scenario or how to use the scale, yeah, let me know. Okay. So the way that we've decided to do this is that on the left of your screen, you're going to see a case study, which is based on customers and them having pain points. And on the right-hand side, that's going to be the ideal scenario. Like, if I could create myself as a recruiter an ideal ATS, this is the scenario that I would want to be in, right? So a customer of mine that I onboarded a few years back, what was very interested about specifically this subject matter, which is wanting an ATS that is a source of truth, is that they were all siloed. So it was a team of 7, and they were all working off of different areas. So they even worked on, some of them worked with Google, some of them worked with Microsoft, meaning that some of them were holding CVs, resumes in OneDrive, whilst others were doing it through Google Drive. What this means is that information is stagnant, it's not growing, it's not being updated. And what I have might not be the same thing as like Diego, Lex, or whomever has in their system. So if you are more towards the numbers of 1 to 2, it means like ask yourself as a team or as a recruiter, am I working in a silo completely different to the rest of my team? If I am, I'm probably going to be on a scale from 1 to 2. However, from a scale from maybe 4 to 5, if you're in a more ideal scenario, this is probably the statements that you would be leaning towards. And it would be, I trust my data implicitly. I never have to cross-reference LinkedIn or a spreadsheet to know what is real. My ATS is an intelligence engine, not a graveyard where data goes to die. Okay. So this is the ideal scenario. It's a living and breathing place. It's a source of truth. We are all living in this ecosystem, in this environment. We know what we're supposed to do. Okay, so from a scale from 1 to 5, this is the question. Where would you rate your ATS being a source of truth for you and for your entire team? Okay. If you have fallen on the shorter side of this particular scale, this is what a higher grade strategy could look like for you. So the solution to this would be a unified intelligence hub. So it could be something that is self-updating, that is always like kept in one particular place because it is an ecosystem for you and for your entire team. And it is going to be automatically updating profiles. So to be able to get to that score of 5, you would want an ATS that is all encompassing for your entire team. And that is that single source of truth for all of you where you can all work collectively and together. Okay, so that was point number 1. Hopefully you've taken notes in terms of how you feel about your ATS and being a source of truth. Let's go into our second subject matter over here. The question that you can ask yourself is like, is my ATS ready for innovation? This is what I would call this particular section of like putting your ATS to a test. So when it comes to a segment of 1 to 2, you would want to kind of understand maybe this particular scenario over here. I also onboarded a team from Ireland who, even when we were doing the onboarding, it was quite difficult because not only their technology that they were coming from was something that not even the data migration team knew what system it was because it was so outdated that even during the training sessions, they couldn't share their screen with me because their actual equipment was so outdated. They didn't have microphones connected to their phones like we currently have. So not only was the technology, like the software, outdated, but their technology altogether was outdated. And what this actually meant is that they were stuck in the past. They were losing deals. They were not progressing as the industry was progressing. And they were completely just like manually updating things. They were doing things like on different systems, et cetera, et cetera. Your true statement here, if you would want that ideal scenario that you could ask yourself is, our system evolves automatically. You don't have to do anything. Because when new technology comes, like for example, AI matching, which is such a common thing, like AI is coming into all these platforms to make your life easier. The same thing as automations. Your system will automatically bring it in the background, silently. You won't even notice, but it's going to be there. And you're going to be better for it. You're not going to have to keep trying to Google. It's like, okay, how do I do this? No, your system is going to be doing it there in the background for you. And that's going to help you without you knowing, just kind of implicitly. So 1 to 2, it means that you are in an outdated system that is not letting you progress into the future versus a system that would be more of a 4 to 5 that is already keeping up with new technology and new things, and it's automatically implementing it within its system, and you don't have to do anything about it. So on a scale from 1 to 5, how innovative is your ATS? Okay. If you fell in the shorter numbers of our scale and you want to increase or maybe propel your ATS into like a future ATS, what you would probably be looking at is a silent background update. And this is something that you can definitely ask your current ATS or other ATS systems that you're probably having conversations with, to like account executives or your sales reps if you're talking to other people. Like, are you very good with silent background updates? Because we want to keep up with the times. So what you want to expect is these automated updates and AI integrations that are hitting the market. You want to also see them within your system. Just kind of like your iPhone updates at night, and then you wake up and you have a new update on your phone. That's what you want. Okay. Let's go into our subject number 3. Over here, we've got our workflow speed. We have 2 very important ones, which is your workflow speed, and then we're going to be following into our source speed, okay? Workflow speed is everything from the moment in which you receive a vacancy all the way to filling that vacancy. But just like this case study over here with a customer that they did have an ATS system, but the team hated using it because it was just like a catch-all for admins, because the team leads were saying, I just want you to copy paste the notes from like an interview that you had with a candidate or whatever it is. It meant that they weren't receiving anything back. They weren't getting anything back. They didn't like using it, and it wasn't giving like anything additional to them. So you want something that's going to make it speedy, is going to work for you, and it's going to be in the background as well, just helping you out. If you are in the scenario where maybe your team or even yourself do not enjoy using the system because it's just to put admin in, you're probably going to fall within the smaller numbers. Versus if you are on the higher numbers over here of our scale, which is my team wants to use the platform because it makes them faster, it is intuitive, and it removes administrative friction rather than forcing us to click 10 times to do one single thing. Okay? So how speedy is your workflow, or how clunky is your workflow? Okay? If you have chosen between like a 1 and a 2, the solution would probably be to start looking at growth engines. And these can be just something that you can ask your ATS or an account executive and get a better understanding of like what modern recruiting is doing. Like, oh, is there are the software engineering team and the product teams really involved? Are they putting money into the team to start making it seem easier for recruiters to want to use it, to add gamification, to make it feel less like a chore, but something more interesting to actually use? Okay, so that is the one in terms of workflow speed. Let's jump into our number 4. Diego, do we have any questions on the chat? Are we good?
No, no questions so far, but anybody, if you have any comments about what you're seeing right now, or any questions, or even how you feel about how your ATS is doing right now, just feel free to put it on the chat or on the Q&A. And also maybe we can open a conversation between all of us as well.
Beautiful. Okay, love it. Thank you for that, because I got to drink water. So our point number 4 is going to be just a subject of sourcing speed, which I kind of leaned into. As recruiters, sourcing is crucial. It is the foundation of everything that we do, finding those great candidates to get them in front of hiring managers and eventually get a placement. So we get commissions, we get paid, et cetera, et cetera. So in this particular case study that I'm bringing here, this isn't one particular customer that I can pinpoint it to. It's so many people. Like, it's so many agencies, so many in-house recruiters that are struggling with the fact that there's so many different sourcing tools to find ideal candidates. So all of a sudden, instead of having one single place where you're sourcing candidates, you just randomly have 20 tabs open, and you forgot completely where that one that you actually really liked was. So you have to keep opening different tabs and try to refresh your memory. And this is such a big common thing that happens in recruitment, especially with the speediness of sourcing. If you feel like you're the kind of recruiter, or your team is also opening hundreds of different tabs to source for candidates, maybe like through job boards or through different sourcing tools or whatever it is, and you're actually spreading yourself thin because of how much time you're spending on these tools, you might be looking at lower numbers of this scale right here, versus a perfect scenario or an ideal scenario, which would be like, as a recruiter, I can source candidates directly from my database or from my job vacancy that I have created in my ATS with a single click, without ever switching tabs or even manually copying data. I don't have to switch any tabs. I don't have to copy anything in there. So I would like for you to actually look a little bit at the video over here, which kind of exemplifies that ideal scenario of what a sourcing tool within your ATS, within your job vacancy would look like. You would be able to use things like NLS or keywords and Boolean, titles and filters to start filling in the information, and just start selecting yes, no, hide on these candidates, and then they would jump straight into your pipeline. That would be an ideal scenario of a great ATS, where you can also take a look at people who are in your database and also people who are externally, like outside of your database, but that are publicly available thanks to something like Voxer Source, for example. So that is like what you would be looking at if you wanted to improve your sourcing within your ATS. Okay, let's jump into subject number 5, which is the unified stack. We've done webinars about this before, but I think that recruiters know exactly what I'm talking about when we talk about like a Franken stack, like fragmented pieces of technology that we're all having to use to be able to fulfill our jobs, right? So we're not only using PDFs and presentations, and we're using email, of course, but we're also using a sourcing tool. We're using an outreach tool, or like anything that's marketing related. And we're using our ATS, CRM, BD, all of it, right? And it gets very overwhelming very quickly. The difficulty with this is that they're great, but at the same time, we really need for them to integrate in a proper way, or at least for them to be built in within the system, so it's all unified and it works as an ecosystem. And if you think about like a scenario from 1 to 2, that is exactly what you're feeling. You're feeling like you're working in hundreds of different little places. And for it to come together, it takes extra effort. It takes extra time. So we have no live way of communicating with other hiring managers from within our job vacancy. The information is stagnant would also be one of these issues, I would say. So just kind of so we understand a little bit about the unified stack. If you are a 1 to 2, it's probably because you're using a lot of different tools to fulfill your job versus a tool that has all of these like presentation, emails, PDFs, blah, blah, outreach, etc., all within its tool. So a number 5 ideal scenario would be I live in one window, sourcing, outreach, candidate sharing, and hiring manager collaboration all happen in one single place, which is possible because every tool talks to the other seamlessly. This means I don't pay a toggle tax switching between bolt-on solutions, keeping my focus where it belongs, all in that one single window. Okay, so in a scale from 1 to 5, where would you put your current system in terms of being a unified stack? How unified is your current stack from 1 to 5? If you would want to improve your score, this is maybe what we would suggest, which is a connected ecosystem, like something where you can do all of those things together. You can see it over here, so you can email directly from your ATS. You can have a client portal, for example, where you can share candidates with them. It's living and breathing. So whenever you do updates, you choose how much you want to share with them, and they can share back comments about these ideal candidates for them. And you can keep it just nice and clean. On top of that, you can also do job board publishing, where you can also add start and end dates, and people can directly apply through that link and they can pop into your job vacancy. But it starts connecting all these different areas all in that single place. Okay. Let's jump into number 6. So we've got over here as our 6th subject, which is team retention and morale. I feel like a lot of people, when they're thinking about their ATS, they feel it, but they never verbalize this. And it's such an important point to make, that technology is evolving so fast, but we also are a team and we need to stay up to date, because if not, hiring for our own team as recruiters is going to get more complicated. However, if we start telling people who were trying to get into our team that we're using an outdated system, or we're still on spreadsheets, or we're not keeping up with the times, we're actually telling them that we're going to make their work, like if they worked with us, long, difficult, complicated, a lot of negative things. So actually getting placements within your team to keep growing your business could be something very difficult. Like, you want to keep up with the times, you want to keep up with technology, and then that way people will want to join your business. The amount of times where we've heard like, oh, we use XY system, it's like that's a selling point whenever we're trying to hire someone. That is really great. So that would probably be a 1 to 2 if you feel like you're struggling to grow your team because of your technology and the system that you're using. Versus a 5, which would be the ideal scenario of our technology stack is a competitive advantage that helps us attract and retain high billing recruiters who refuse to work with clunky, outdated administrative tools. Okay. So how good is your system in terms of like wanting, like being a good system to bring retention of your team and keeping morale up? Amazing. Okay. If you wanted to increase your score over here, I feel like recruiter first design is crucial. And if UI, like design, is good, that would be fantastic as well. As you can see in the little video over here, just like the confetti popping whenever there's a placement, or even having a leaderboard of like how many CVs you've submitted within your team to just like keep like a little bit of healthy competition within your team. That is going to be crucial to like maybe bringing the team morale or like having that unified feeling within your team. Yeah, those are a few little things that definitely your system could take into consideration, or a great ATS could take into consideration. And if not, it's something to ask in terms of like, is your software engineering team or your product team thinking about improving that in the future? That could be a question that you can ask whenever you're speaking with sales representatives. Okay. We're coming almost to the end. I know, be patient with me. So we're at number 7. This subject is the revenue engine. Okay. I don't know how many of you right now on this call or on this webinar are 360 recruiters. But when it comes to sourcing for candidates, think about sourcing for prospects kind of the same way. No, it's a database of people, but they're decision makers. It's just a little bit different, but you still want to reach out to them to get business from them, right? If you have an ATS, you could either be in a system that doesn't have an ATS and a BD tool together. They can be completely separate from each other. Or you have one that has both of them linked together. So these are the two scenarios. You could be in a 1 to 2, meaning that you're using an ATS system to manage all of your candidates, and you're using a separate system to do all of your business development. Or you're in a number 5 scenario where both my system for clients and for candidates are all in one place. And I can track business development, identify hiring managers, and manage my sales pipeline in exactly the same view as I do my recruiting pipeline in general. Okay, ideal scenario, all in one place. Not so ideal scenario, 1 to 2. So is your current system capable of letting you manage BD? Yes, no, and a scale from 1 to 5. Amazing. Okay. If you did want to improve this particular area of your system, there's 2 things that you can probably take a look at in the videos that we have collected over here. So lovely Lex is here at the top, but browser extensions are fantastic. It means that you can go into different social media platforms like GitHub, LinkedIn, et cetera, so many different ones. And you can just like easily parse that person as a candidate or a client into your ATS system easily, and it will also fetch contact details. You don't want to bring people in without contact details, and if the system automatically does it for you, well, that's one less step and one less tool for you to pay for because it's already incorporated within your ATS. The second one over here is going to be just being able to do account-based prospecting directly from your ATS. So as you can see, you can either move into your sourcing tool for candidates versus companies, and you can use different Boolean strings like I'm looking for SaaS businesses in finance, use different filters, and I can ask the system to let me know who the decision makers at that particular company or those branches are, and to please find contact details for me so I can put them into my database. Imagine being able to do that straight from your ATS. I think that just like removes like so many different clicks because everything is living and breathing within one specific system. Okay, wonderful. Are we well on time? Yeah? Questions? Yeah? Okay, wonderful. Okay, let's jump into number 8. This is subject client delivery. When it comes to client delivery, think about like maybe the pain points could be more related to you're still submitting candidates to your hiring managers as attachment, right? So you just kind of like send the attachment of the anonymized CV, for example, and you can just like wait for someone to come back to you. But then you have to remember that you need to chase for a follow-up or for the comments from a hiring manager. But you're also working on 20 vacancies. So keeping on top of like, oh, I actually need the feedback from my hiring manager gets really overwhelming. And you want maybe to move away from that to something more natural, more like digital, right? Because like the communication with your hiring managers or your clients is complicated and it's very difficult to keep up with the follow-ups, right? So if you feel like you're still submitting CVs, as an attachment to your emails, and he forgets to follow up and things are a little bit clunky, I would probably go between like a scale from 1 to 2. Ideal scenario over here, leaning more towards a 4 to 5, being 5, like if your system really, really does it, is submitting candidates to clients is frictionless because it is a digital experience. You're not sending an email attachment, you're actually giving them a secure link that they even have to put like a code in to be able to access it because you're obviously managing private information. And this will allow your clients to view resumes if you allow them to, of course, because you choose whatever you want to be able to share with your hiring managers and they can give feedback to you. So let's take a look at what this ideal scenario is and how you can move maybe from a 1 to 2 all the way to a 5. As you can see over here, you can create these client portals. You can choose what candidates, depending on what stage you want to share with your hiring managers within that portal, and they can see basic information, like as condensed as you want to share it with them. They can leave a comment, let you know, I like this candidate, I don't like them. Actually, I will want to interview them, whatever it is. And then the comments will appear right there in the activity page of your candidates. What this does for you on your side is that you will see what you need to action. My hiring manager said that this candidate is fantastic. Let's get them booked in for an interview as quickly as possible. Wonderful.
Now we do have a question actually that came through.
Yeah.
I think this one actually pertains to subject 7. It's about automated enrichment. Just a question around how does automated enrichment work in this process in general?
This one over here. So the system should automatically fill in missing contact details. Okay, this is such a great question because it really will depend on the ATS that you have, and you can have things turned on in the background for you, right? So there are ATS systems that whenever you put a candidate in a particular section of your database, or if you're bringing them from a social media platform, if this thing is turned on that it says automatically find contact details for this person, then it will do it. It will not just only add them into your database, it will add them with contact details, meaning that you can immediately start emailing them, or if you have a phone number for them, you can start calling them directly from that moment. So it's all incorporated. Automated enrichment is exactly that. I'm not sure, Lex, did I answer? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So yeah, reachable candidates instantly. That's what you want. And I blurred out Lex's email over here. But what was great about this was that when we use the Chrome extension to bring Lex's profile into the ATS system, it automatically found an email for her. And you pick what you want. Like if you want personal email versus work email versus phone number, you pick whatever you want. Wonderful. Okay, so we did 8. Let's move back into 9. Okay, so our subject number 9 is going to be future-proofing. We always want a system that is future-proof, right? So case study number 9 is going to be, like, for example, we've been using the same system and method for years, and our numbers are showing it. We're stuck. I actually remember the client, why I actually brought this case study into today's webinar. They're based in Barcelona and they had been using the same system, worked really great. However, they hadn't been doing any updates to the system for the past, I don't know how many years, Like, yeah, it works and we're used to it. We've collected so much great data into it. We're very afraid of leaving our system because of how great our data has been. But I mean, you're as good as how you manage your own data, but they were very afraid of leaving their ATS. However, they knew that if they didn't progress, because that ATS was not progressing, it was not future proof, then they would be stuck and they wouldn't be able to keep growing with the industry standards, right? However, they were also feeling extremely overwhelmed with the amount of tools. They were like, oh, we could go so many different directions, or we can buy so many other tools to add on to what we currently have. However, how are we going to pick? There's so many different options. We feel overwhelmed, right? If you are like my client from Barcelona and you feel like you might be like closer to this area, this is probably where you would be. Okay. So like a 1 to 2, like your system works, but it hasn't changed in the past few years, but it's still kind of okay for industry standards. It's not fantastic. It's not future proof. If you are maybe a 4 to 5, this is your ideal scenario. The software works for us. We don't work for it. Routine tasks are automated, allowing my recruiters to spend 100% of their time influencing people. This reliance is made possible by complete confidence in our data security, which is very important in the world of recruitment, and a consistently innovative partner, right? We want to partner up with companies who are staying on top of advances. If you want to improve your score, little things like simple buttons of encouraging your team to add activity notes that actually move candidates from one stage to the next, things to stage automations, those are the things that you want. If you have to do so many different manual tasks, that is not future-proofing you as a business or your team, because they're going to want to leave things behind and not keep things updated, meaning that your reports, meaning that your data is going to fall back and it's going to fall short. So the solution is for you to partner up with an ATS that is willing to always improve when it comes to any new technical advances. Okay, wonderful. Let's jump into our last one. So vendor support is crucial. This slide looks a little bit different because support can look a little bit different to you depending on your ATS. You can have a self-service focus, or you might be paying for account management, like something extra, like account management or customer success, depending on the ATS that you're on. So the scenario could be that, yes, your system is staying up to date. There's a lot of new features coming in, but you don't know how to use them. You're not getting any answers or any feature updates. You're not getting training, like maybe not training, but any news articles or help center articles, or like the help center is a little bit clunky. You're not getting answers to this. That could be maybe your 1 to 2. If you feel like your vendor support, your ATS support is staying behind and you're not getting all of that help from your actual vendor, that would be maybe a 1 to 2. Your ideal scenario, 4 to 5, depending on what type of client you would be for them, could be either this one or this one. So it could be a self-service focus where you do have access to a great help center desk with great articles, with videos, and if you write into the chat, you maybe have a great AI bot that will help you, and then eventually you can talk to a human support person, right? Or if you do actually have an account manager / customer success manager that knows your workflow and wants to grow with you and help you and your team keep progressing into the future, right? So that could be maybe a 4 to 5. Vendor support is crucial, especially with such a growing industry. You want to keep up with it. Okay, so if you did want to look more towards 4 to 5, just having a customer success partnership or just a great place to find this information is going to be the place to do it. Okay, that comes to the end of our 10 subjects of how to grade your ATS system. If you want to take a look at your final grade, this will be obviously provided to you on the report card if you did click into the link that Diego sent you. If not, we will be sharing it with you via email. But if you had like the majority of the marks between a 4 and a 5, you're going to be at the top end, meaning that you're probably okay in your current ATS and you're okay where you are. If you are a little bit on the lower side, like 25 and under, maybe you can consider it. And then if you did get like below 15 marks, you should definitely maybe consider an ATS system. You might not have one currently. And then that is kind of it. So do we have any questions?
We have one question. So this is about Loxo, and it's just asking about the note-taking feature, like when you do interviews with candidates. So can you just talk a little bit because we do have it. So I just want you to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a recent feature that Loxo has provided to our customers. It's really great. It's in terms of just like being able to add the AI note taker into your interviews or even just like client meetings, for example. It is in constant updates, but what it will do is that it will record the meeting. It will give you a summary of what the conversation was about. It will give you like a bulleted list, and you will have access to it on the person's profile in the meetings section. So it will live and breathe within that section. There are more updates coming, which I believe is going to be like maybe having little short clips that you would be easily able to share with like hiring managers, I believe, or things like that. So it might be really interesting because we're always trying to improve new AI features that we bring to the table. So yeah, wonderful. Hope that answers your question. Okay, this one, I'm not going to talk you through it, but we wanted you to be able to know that we're giving you 5 questions that are a great cheat sheet to ask your sales representative whenever you're talking to ATS systems that you might want to bring forward, okay? That you might want to subscribe. Bear in mind, I know that a seat for a single recruiter within an ATS system is quite expensive. So you want to answer all of these questions and know what you're signing up for, right? So ask them a question about data, velocity, unity, revenue, partnership. This will be also in the downloadable version of the report card towards the end, okay? And then last but not least, if you do want to understand maybe how Loxo closes the gap, all of these subject matters that we have shown you, I showed you a little clip of how Loxo kind of achieves that as well, of just like being a single source of truth within Unified Intelligence Hub. ATS feels outdated and rarely updates with like silent background updates and just like updating candidates information or people information. System is super admin heavy versus a constant evaluation on features and improvements. We have an ever growing team of products and software engineers always coming into our system, and we love just wanting to make the system even better as time goes on. And the next one is like sourcing paid tools. We have Loxo Source. Loxo Source is our proprietary databases of over 100 million people just like into the system incorporated, where you can just like bring them into your database. You are as good as the data that you start building, obviously. Excessive tool switching, which would be like a unified stack of connected ecosystem. And then the last few ones are like a recruiter first design or account-based prospecting with Loxo Source, a hiring manager portal. But not only that, you can also do a candidate status report, and you can also have candidate insights, which are graphs of like the talent pool within your vacancy. So you can share those with your hiring managers. It's like, oh, you're asking me for a unicorn, but let me show you the data of the candidates that we actually have access to. So maybe you need to lower your expectations to allow the market to do its thing, right? We also have stage automations to help move candidates along the pipeline. And we have obviously customer success and support partnerships to help you out. That being said, please do let us know how else we can help you. We do have a link if you are interested in a free consultation. I feel like every scenario is going to be different. So maybe talking to someone with your particular case would be an ideal situation over here. So I don't know, Diego, if you have access to this link, if you would be able to put it in the chat for everyone to have access to it.
Yes, I'll do that right now.
Amazing. But yeah, and I don't know if we have any additional questions. I just really hope that this was helpful for you. I know that changing systems, changing to an ATS can be quite daunting, and it's an expensive investment into your team and for your like future of your agency. So I really do hope that this was very helpful for you. Not sure, Lex, Diego, if we have any additional questions over here, or we can call it a day.
Yeah, I think we're on time. So just to be aware on that, I think it's enough for today. So again, thank you so much, everybody. I say thank you very much for coming, for your questions and everything. Like Natalia said, we hope you like it. And if you have any more questions, just feel free to create us as marketing@loxo.co, and we will happy to also to answer anything that maybe we don't have time to do today.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining us in our ATS report card. I really hope that this was very helpful for you. All the best. Thank you.